Mel Clarke. I am a mother of 2 children. I've got a 15-year-old daughter and I've got a 12-year-old son, soon to be 13, sat next to me.
I'm James and I'm from Bristol. I'm 12.
So my first question is for the both of you. What was your initial reaction when you first watched it? Were there any parts that you felt were especially like relatable or particularly uncomfortable? Like, what were your first impressions?
I found it absolutely harrowing, like the whole thing, being a parent, the son being the same age as James, just like the way it was just shot and everything. It was just, really quite kind of traumatic, and it's almost like the stuff that you kind of know is going on there, but you sort of, it's all your worst nightmares and horrors come true.
Ever come across anything online or like influencers in particular that you feel like you recognize are like toxic, and if so, like kind of what drew you in and what kind of pulled you back, if you have experienced anything like that?
One of them is definitely Andrew Tate. He speaks on various podcasts and stuff, and he's just, I think he's sexist and everything. His podcast when he talks about women and everything, and yeah.
Do your friends think that as well, or just some of them believe in it?
A very majority think he's bad.
What kind of content or communities do you think like most people your age are exposed to? So like you were saying, obviously like a lot of like your friends know about Andrew Tate. Like, do you think they're probably the most, like they're the largest people online?
Yeah, I would say so, yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like sometimes we can be the target audience, our age group, because maybe we believe some of it and share it and spread it across the internet. So, yeah.
And do you feel like your age in particular, like you are quite susceptible to seeing things like that online?
Yes, I think sometimes we are a bit gullible, and sometimes, the little feeds on Instagram, on TikTok and everything, it does come up for us, I think, a lot more than others. So, yeah.
And do you feel like, obviously your mum's there, do you feel like your mum really knows what's going on online? Like, is there anything that you think that you'd see that you think your mum would be aware about, or do you think it's quite like a separate space?
I wouldn't say she knows the ins and outs of it, but she knows, like, the gist of it, basically.
When did you, if you have ever started to worry about like your child's online safety? Obviously you said you've got kids like varied in age. Was there anything like in particular that you initially were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening online?
Yeah, I think so when it really starts is when they go to secondary school, because you feel like they have to have a phone to go, and the big reason, so my elder child is in year 10, 15. One of the main reasons you sort of go, oh God, I've got to kind of, is if you've got a daughter, because you're worried about them walking home on their own. So you think, I'll give them this phone to keep them safe. In my head, the big danger is still like, some bloke coming up to you on the street on the way home. So you give them this phone because you think, oh, then they're safe and they can contact you. But then it's like, shit, their biggest danger is probably on that, actually the content on that phone. And the first thing I think I became aware of probably is like when James was younger and they had like Kindle Fires and things like that when they're like 8 and 9, where at primary school we'd get all this stuff about like Roblox and like people infiltrating Roblox and messaging.
Yeah.
Obviously watching the show together or just watching the show separately, was there anything that you thought brought up conversations between the pair of you?
Well, recently my mum's been, when I on TikTok when you repost stuff, my mum's saying, James, you've posted this video, and she's getting a bit more involved in the social life, I would say. And she sometimes checks and sees the notifications, I think.
Do you think there's anything that like you would say, obviously now having like had those conversations, that you would say to parents about kind of balancing digital safety online whilst also giving your children freedom?
I mean, neither of these two had a smartphone before secondary. I wonder whether, last 6 months of year 6, that's going to become norm for them to start having it in primary school. There's this movement towards people giving what they call brick phones, so that they can like message and text but can't go on the internet.
Do you think that's a good idea?
Well, I do think it's quite a good idea, and there's been a sort of bigger movement towards it now, and I can kind of see why.